Okay, guys, so this next video starts with rhombuses, and you'll remember that for rhombuses we have a couple new things. The definition is that it's a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. And some of the properties are that diagonals are perpendicular. That's the symbol for perpendicular, but it's perpendicular. And diagonals bisect opposite angles. So, number 11, given the following rhombus, solve for the missing angle measures. Well, we know that the diagonals are perpendicular, means they meet at a 90-degree angle. So angle 2 has to be 90 degrees. Oopsies. Okay. We also know another way of thinking about diagonals bisect each other. Remember for a kite, if you see my hands, remember we said, oh, that's way too close. Sorry, we said you can fold it in half. For a rhombus, you can fold it in half both ways, if that helps you think about it. So if this is 70, and these two are also both going to be 70. So angle 3 is going to be 70 degrees. If this is 90 and this is 70, then we can say, well, you know, these three have to add up to 90. So this is going to be 20 degrees. This is going to be 20 degrees. This is going to be 20 degrees. And this is going to be 20 degrees. So you can see that folds in half twice. Like, so all these things are going to match up with over here, and all these things are going to match up with down there. In other words, you're going to have 4 congruent triangles. Okay, number 12. We know that it's a rhombus. That means all 4 of these sides are going to be the same, which means we could set any of these sides equal. Well, if we want to solve for x, it's helpful to use the 2 that have x in it. So we can say 4x minus 2 is equal to 3x plus 3. Now, you could have set this equal to this, but then you would have had 2 variables to deal with. You could have done this equal to this, but you would have had 2 variables to deal with. This is the one that helps you just be able to solve for one of the variables, which is nice. I'm going to subtract 3x on this side. I'm going to add 2 to this side, and I get x equals 5. Well, if I plug in x equals 5 here, 3 times 5 is 15 plus 3 is 18. 4 times 5 is 20 minus 2 is 18. Well, that's good, remember, because our sides are supposed to all be the same. Well, that means this side also needs to be 18. If this side is 2y, we can say that y is 9, because 2 times 9 is 18. So y is going to be 9. Or if you even want to write it out, you can do that too. Okay, let's keep going. In rhombus GHJK, diagonal HK is drawn, and the measure of angle GHK, so GHK, is 50 degrees. Find the following. Well, we know a rhombus can fold in half both ways, or in other words, this diagonal is going to bisect this angle, so this has to be 50. Since this whole angle and this whole angle are congruent because it's a parallelogram, remember a rhombus is a type of parallelogram, these will both be 50 as well. We know that these 3 have to add up to 180 because they're the 3 angles in a triangle. So we can say that this, so 50 plus 50 is 100. I have 80 left over. This will also be 80. So KHJ will be 50. GHJ, that whole thing will be 100. G is 80, the measure of angle G. Okay, well now we have squares, and our rule for squares is that all sides and angles are congruent, which means really that this is going to be 90, 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 and all of these sides are going to be the same. So let's take a look. It says, which of the following statements is not true given this quadrilateral with diagonal DB? And it says it's a square. That's important. Okay, so AB is congruent to CB. AB is congruent to CB. Well, that's true. AD is congruent to CB. That's true. DA, that means perpendicular. So DA is perpendicular to AB. Yep, well, perpendicular means they meet at a 90-degree angle, so that's true. AD is congruent to DB. Well, that's not true. A side's not necessarily congruent to its diagonal. It's actually never going to be true. That's false, so which of the following is not true? This one is not true. Okay, again, which of the following statements is false? So we want to figure out which one's false. Sometimes it's easier to figure out which ones are true, and then the last one will be false. A square is a rectangle. Remember, to be a rectangle, you have to have all 90-degree angles. A square is a rectangle. Well, yeah, a square has all 90-degree angles, so that's good. A square is a quadrilateral. To be a quadrilateral, you have to have 4 sides. Does a square have 4 sides? Yep. In order to be a square, all of your angles and all of your sides have to be congruent. Well, is a rhombus true? Well, not really. A rhombus's sides will be the same, but not their angles. In order to be a parallelogram, your opposite sides have to be parallel, while a square's opposite sides will be parallel. It's a type of parallelogram, so that's good. So this one's false. Okay, now we have kites. We have a couple rules for kites. We have 2 pair of congruent consecutive sides. So for instance, if you look at 16, I have a pair of congruent consecutive sides that are next to each other. Here's another pair of congruent consecutive sides, 2 sides that are next to each other that are the same length. And then the other things we know is that diagonals are perpendicular. And it also folds in half. Only one way though. So let's see if we can figure out in here which way it folds in half if we wanted to. We don't need it for this problem, but this is the line it'll fold in half on. So that this side matches with this side matches with this. Well, if it folds in half along this line, actually it is kind of helpful. That means this angle is going to match up with this angle. So this has to be 70 degrees. Because it's a quadrilateral, we know that all 4 of these angles have to add up to 360. So I can say 360 is equal to, we know this is 70. We know this is 102. We know this is 70. We have to solve for this down here. If I subtract all of those things onto the other side, we're left with 118 degrees. I know it's not drawn to scale, but that'll be 118. Okay, number 7. Let's figure out where it folds in half first. This is the folder in halfer, I guess. Because this will match up with this. This will match up with this. That means that 5 will match up with this 62. It means this 4 will match up with this spot. This 3 will match up with this spot. This will match up with this. Okay. We also know that their diagonals are perpendicular, so this has to be 90 degrees here. Okay. Let's think about it. If this is 90, we know that this angle plus this angle plus this angle has to add up to 180 because it's a triangle. So if I do 180 minus 90 minus 55, I'm left with 35 degrees for this angle. And we know that this angle, when it folds in half, matches up with this angle, so this will also be 35 degrees. Okay, let's look at this triangle down here. We know that this is 62 now, 62 degrees. Okay, we know this is 90, so if I do 180 minus 90 minus 62, it'll give me this. Well, I'm left with 28 degrees. Remember, these aren't guaranteed to be the same. All we know is that this will fold in half on top of this. So this will match up with this, but that's all we know. Okay, number 18, same thing as before. We know that the diagonals are perpendicular. It's going to fold in half along one line. So if that's x, that's x. If that's y, that's y. Notice this is 39 and this is 54. This whole angle here is if we add those two together. So if we do 39 plus 54, we get that this whole angle is 93 degrees. Okay. Oh, actually, we don't even need to do that for this one. What we can do is we can say, okay, this plus this plus this has to add up to 180. So 180 minus 39 minus 90 leaves us with 51 for x. Same thing down here. This plus this plus this has to be 180. So 180 minus 54 minus 90 leaves us with 36 degrees. Okay, so there's side 3. Go ahead and move on to side 4.